We can focus on the issues that we care about, which include the financial health of this country, because I don't know if you saw treasury yields, but they're going way up. And they're going up because not necessarily that people think we're going to be going into a crazy recession. I mean, they may send us into a recession. In fact, some of the numbers have suggested, we're doing okay. Great article in the Wall Street Journal about this today. The reason they're going up is because people are looking at what I just showed you. The long-term, unsustainable debt that we just cannot continue with. I mean, this is really out of control. And the more this escalates with no actual end in sight, the more problems we will have. I mean, you wonder why they're talking about the fall of the Roman Empire, right? What do you think caused the fall of the Roman Empire? Too much debt. Too many people living off the dole. Too many military involvements that were too costly. I mean, the similarities really and truly are quite striking. Quite striking. And this is why we need to pay attention now. This is why we need to take this opportunity and set the stage for a new era in America. One that showcases financial responsibility, which means you can't be doing what the Democrats have been doing or what, Kevin McCarthy. And, look, there's blame to go around for sure on all of this because the Republicans allowed this. But if you're going to lead the Republican Party, then you need to lead. And you can't acquiesce and you can't play games and you can't say, oh, sure, we'll spend another $2 trillion here or there. You got to stand for something. And right now, with these numbers being as crazy as they are, you got to stand for fiscal responsibility. And with fiscal responsibility, everything else comes in line. Someone sent me something. We know that California, of course, wants to reinvent how they teach math, but someone sent me something last night. There's now an effort underway in the state of Connecticut to have what they call equitable math. Equitable math, so that minority students don't feel disenfranchised if they're not as good at math as other students. And so the idea is we're going to be, more warm and fuzzy and teach math in new ways that make everyone feel good and don't really rely on always getting the correct answer. To which my response was last night, is this so that nobody realizes what $33 trillion really is in terms of our national debt? I mean, are we just going to rethink numbers altogether? Is that what this is about? We've got problems. We've got problems on the education front. We've got problems on the border front. All of these things are costing us dearly. I mean, kids today, they don't have a clue. They don't even know what interest rates are. So when they sign up for their new credit card at college, where they're paying some $50,000 a year plus to go and get a degree in gender studies for which they will not be employable, they don't understand what the 22% interest rate means. These are things that we actually need to be teaching in school, like at an early age, but nobody cares. Nobody cares in Congress. Nobody cares in school. Nobody cares. And so we need someone as the Speaker of the House that cares, that knows how to add and subtract and multiply and divide, and knows what it means when interest rates keep going up on our $33 trillion, that knows what it means when we have $200 trillion in outstanding liabilities. We got to come up with some more creative solutions. And we got to take a big red pen to that budget and start making some changes. So let's talk about who's out there. What do you think? Jim Jordan says he's interested. I think he would be perhaps one of the better ones. And I say this because he has a degree in economics. Really, I'm just like, can we just get somebody who understands math? There's the gentleman down in Florida as well, Byron, and he's phenomenal. He's been on the show a couple times. He understands economics, but I don't think he's really in the running. They're talking about Steve Scalise as well. I guess I just go back to Jordan because I'm impressed with what he studied in undergrad. I mean, look, I guess I'm easily impressed, but there's very few economics majors in Congress. I like people that have a sense of what interest rates mean, what debt means, what tax policy means. And we don't have that. But there's another interesting idea that's being floated. People are talking about, could you actually see Donald Trump be named as Speaker of the House? And apparently there's no rule against it. So he actually could. Typically Republicans bring in one of their own, but they could do this. I've pointed out that it could be kind of troubling because, he's got bigger aspirations and something bigger in mind, of course, and that would be the presidency. But Steve Bannon, whom you all know, has, and I consider a very smart guy, by the way, he was one of the first to really well articulate where our standing was in the world vis-a-vis China and the threat that China really is. And he's done an excellent job really at articulating that. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. By the way, the guy's really smart. Former Goldman Sachs banker, by the way. My alma mater, too, way back when. Anyway, Steve Bannon said some interesting stuff about the potential for Donald Trump coming in because he feels like he's like the one guy who can go in and clean house and actually do a lot of these things that need to get done. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think. I'm looking at your live comments here in this live show today.
Solution. You want to compromise in a coalition and to get the people paid and get on with the business and set up the committees? How about this? 100 days to save America. And in that 100 days, Donald J. Trump will be voted tonight or tomorrow to be Speaker of the House. And the Republicans say we're going to do it for 100 days. And in the 100 days, you get everything set up, all the investigations set up, and Trump begins the negotiations now. Not when they run out of money. They said, the crisis is going to hit us in the summer or fall. Well, that's where they're out of cash, and I can put the gun to your head. We're out of cash. The full faith and credit got to do it. No, let's start it now. We know what this is about. You're not going to hide anymore, and you're not going to lie anymore, and you're not going to spin anymore. And if you want somebody in the room that understands how to do these types of negotiations, his entire professional career is doing that, is Donald J. Trump. 100 days. Let's get him in the room. And let's do the debt ceiling. Let's do let's do the spending. Let's talk about the madness. And let's talk about the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
Who knows more about money or interest rates than Donald Trump? Remember, Ralph Norman's come to this as a real estate developer because it's so interest rate sensitive. What he said yesterday, right now we're on the verge of spending $1 trillion on interest a year. $1 trillion a year, bigger than the defense budget. You want to talk about a national security problem? You want to talk running around? We got national security. Got to get Kevin McCarthy right now because this is a national security problem. We got all those guys, the military veterans. I honor their service. National security issue. National security. Here's the national security issue. You're spending $1 trillion a year more in the defense budget, which is out of control, on interest. That's a national security problem. And I got a solution. And tell me anybody's got a better solution for right now, for this afternoon. Give it, how about this? 100 days of Donald Trump. Let's get him in the room. You don't think their heads will blow up? You don't think that the Senate, you can't do that. You got Trump. What are you talking about? You want to put it in their ear. You want to get up in their grill. Give me Trump for 100 days. You give me Trump for 100 days and you'll start the process of sorting out this mess. And the fact that they hate it so much is the better reason we ought to do it. So I got a solution. I got a compromise. Put it all to bed this afternoon. Trump for 100 days.
Interesting. I'm kind of thinking Bannon for 100 days, right? Look, I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is hard stuff. When you realize you get $200 trillion worth of entitlements, right, that you're on the hook for, and there's no end in sight, and this is going to go up. What is it? In the next 10 years, they're thinking we're going to run out of Social Security. And by the way, Social Security isn't even, you got all kinds of other things as well that we're going to be on the hook for. So that's not even the worst of it. So you've got to get some smart people in there with some you-know-whats, I'll use the Spanish term cojones, who can actually go through and slash this budget. It's not going to be easy. And there's going to be a lot of angry people. How dare you cut that or that or that or that? You see, the problem with entitlements is, well, they're entitlements. People think that they're entitled to get them. I think we need to preserve Social Security, right? because we didn't do a good enough job teaching kids how to save money in the first place. We need to preserve that, but we got to come up with a new solution. Like, let's get some ideas on the table, people. Let's get some ideas. And let's not spend so needlessly on stupid stuff. Let's not print money. I mean, for goodness sakes, the $2 trillion in the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, any moron could tell you the more money you spend as the government, the more you will increase inflation. I mean, duh. And yet these idiots, they did it anyway. And by the way, there's lots of blame, right? Because McCarthy wasn't the only one. There were Republicans that voted for that because they all got their little pet project in their little home state, in their little hometown, and they want to push that. We need to stop that in the interest of something bigger, which is ourselves and our future and our country. There's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that I would encourage you to look at today if you have the subscription. And the reason this is so interesting is it's talking about, I'm going to read from it for you. It's talking about this bond sell-off, which threatens the hopes for the economy's soft landing. In other words, bonds are selling off, bond prices are going down, and interest rates are going up. And the reason that happens is because, well, if you're going to try and, attract people into the bond market, you have to offer a better interest rate, right? You're going to have to offer that better interest rate. And that's what's happened. We're seeing an increase in interest rates to a 16-year high. And it's really threatening any kind of aspirations about a soft landing. It's kind of funny because, the Fed was doing everything it could to help Mr. Joe Biden. They wanted him to have a nice, good presidency with a really good economy. And I was sitting there the entire time, you know how angry I was getting at Janet Yellen, at Jerome Powell. What are you guys doing? Like, what are you thinking? You have all the economics degrees. You've been studying economics forever. I remember talking to a bond investor who was trying to get me to, invest in a bond portfolio. Maybe this is about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And I was like, are you kidding me? She was trying to explain that she thought the Fed was done and that we would actually see lower interest rates. And I'm like, okay, I was diplomatic. I didn't tell her she was high, but that was basically my thought on it. Like, there was no way interest rates were coming down, not with this much debt outstanding. You have fundamental long-term problems in addition to what the Fed just did and what Congress did. It's really inexcusable. It's kind of like a form of malpractice. They are wasting our future and wasting our money. But what's interesting about this is, of course, we saw 4.8% on the 10-year just yesterday. They've backed off those rates a little bit, but I do anticipate they're going to continue going higher. So, hey, look, I guess the good news is you can invest in 10-year treasuries now. You can actually go to your bank and get a CD for 6 months that might actually be worth something. But in light of that, really what's coming up is how this increase in borrowing costs, right? Because it's going to cost more to borrow money, just like you're seeing high rates now on mortgages. If you want to get a 30-year mortgage, it's approaching 8%. What is that going to do to the housing market? What is that going to do to people investing in new things if the cost of capital, the cost of borrowing is so much more? The other fear is that it could actually create a kind of financial market meltdown. I'm talking SVB on steroids. Remember what happened with Silicon Valley Bank? As interest rates started to go up and they were holding all those treasuries that were paying like 1%. Well, they have to mark to market every single night. Every regional bank does. And they're only allowed to buy treasuries because, the thinking was we got to reduce the risk. And so you're only allowed to invest in these certain products. And if we just allow them to invest in treasuries, well, then we'll reduce the risk. Well, you're not going to reduce the risk if treasuries go way up overnight, which is what is happening right now. And so all of a sudden, all these banks that have all this paper, right? And the paper that's trading at an obviously lower rate because do you really want to buy a 10-year bond that's going to pay you 1 or 1.5%? No, thank you. I'm going to go get the 4.8% today. So that's not worth as much. And so it puts strain on the banking system. And I don't know how that's going to all shake out. I mean, these are real concerns, guys. And they're created by us. They're created by Bidenomics and a Federal Reserve that clearly, I don't even understand. I said the whole time, like, I don't get it. Like, they got to know, right? Do they not know? Well, they don't know. In fact, in this article, Janet Yellen was quoted just saying, in fact, yesterday, this is our Treasury Secretary, Biden's Treasury Secretary, that she's trying to understand why these bond yields, would be going so much higher. Why would they be at 4.8% on the 10-year? Why? I mean, why, Janet? Quote, it's a great question. And it's one that's very much on my and the administration's minds, she said during a moderated discussion at a Fortune CEO Initiative conference in Washington. Well, I'm glad it's on your mind. It's been on my mind for a while. You just don't have any answers. And the answers that you were offering before were so obviously wrong. And now here we are. So, this is an opportunity. Is it not? This is an opportunity for Republicans to take some leadership here and say, all right, we're going to be the adults in the room. Kevin McCarthy, he's not coming back, okay? He's not coming back. So who is the best solution for the future? Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.